All right. Hello, seventh grade. Happy to see you. This is now the second video that you'll be seeing of class, and it is going to be of chapter 18. We're on chapter 18, section 1. The way that our class is working, we're going to have a chapter 17 test on Monday now, since on Friday we'll be playing the Kahoot for review. But I'm going to go ahead and open up chapter 18. It's still on the Middle Ages, and you will be able to follow along quite nicely before we go back and review everything from before spring break and on Monday, which was also a review of everything before spring break for taking the test on the Middle Ages. And then we'll go on through chapter 18 and be on the next stages of world history, the Renaissance. So this section is titled Popes and Kings. By now, your substitute teacher. Thank you for being here, sub. Uh, Hopefully you've passed out the papers, or if you haven't, go ahead and do that right about now. All right, not too many key terms and people for this section. It is the beginning of a new chapter and all that. The first key term and people is excommunicate. The term excommunicate means casting out an offender of the church. So if a person in the church had done something really bad, they can be excommunicated, which is removal from the church. The next key term and person is Pope Gregory the Seventh. Pope Gregory the Seventh is a pope who is the pope who had excommunicated Emperor Henry the Fourth. Emperor Henry the Fourth is a Holy Roman ruler who challenged Pope Gregory the Seventh. That's the last key term and people. Okay, this is a reading the page type of my social studies work, so it'll be easy to complete on a day when I'm not here. But still, do pay attention to this video because at least I'm not making you read. Early in the Middle Ages, I was pointing there when I said at least I'm not making you read, but not like you can see it. In the early Middle Ages, great nobles and their knights held most of the political power. As time passed, this power began to shift to two types of leaders, the popes and the kings. The pope had great spiritual power, while the kings had political power. Together, the pope and the kings controlled most of European society. Popes and kings rule Europe. The pope was the head of the Christian church. At that time, it was all the churches were the same and they were Catholic. But it was always called the Christian church because Catholic is the Latin word for universal. Since nearly everyone in the Middle Ages belonged to this church, the Pope had great power. Christians believed that the Pope was God's representative on earth. This had been passed down since St. Peter, when Jesus is telling St. Peter, "On this rock I will build my church," talking to St. Peter and virtually giving Peter the authority that Jesus had during his time on earth, transferring it to one representative who we call the Pope. Because the Pope was seen as God's representative, it was his duty to decide what the church would teach. From time to time, a pope would write a letter called a bull that's explaining his religious teaching or to outline a church policy. Popes and kings rule Europe. It was also the pope's duty to decide when someone was acting against the church. For the most serious offenses, the Pope could choose to excommunicate or cast out an offender from the Church. This was much often put to power when the king was in direct conflict with the Pope, as is the case in this section. But for another example, on Thursday in this class, we had discussed the uh, the scientist Galileo Galilei. Galileo Galilei was also excommunicated by the Pope for teaching that the Earth revolves around the sun and rather the Earth not being the center of the universe, which was taught by the church at the time of Galileo's life and during the Middle Ages here. Popes and kings rule Europe. In 1100, Europe was divided into many states that were ruled by kings. Many of the kings did not have much power, but the kings of England, France, and the Holy Roman Empire held a lot of power. In France and England, the throne was inherited through family. The Holy Roman Empire got its name because the empire existed with the Pope's approval. In the Holy Roman Empire, the nobles elected the emperor. The Pope settled any disagreements among the nobles in the Holy Roman Empire, and the Holy Roman Empire is this green that you see on the screen. Britain and France, I hope you know where they are on this map, but it's anyway just to the west of the green on this map. The nobles, speaking of nobles in England, how they gain power. We just lost the husband of the Queen this past weekend in Great Britain. So it affects the line just a tiny bit, but still, the king and the queen's son is going to be the next king of England. And yes, it will be a king next, since the next in line is the prince. And then it would go to his son, and it'll go down to about seven before a girl, Princess Charlotte, could become the next queen. All right, popes fight for power. The popes of Western Europe tried to assert their authority over the bishops of Eastern Europe. The bishops of Eastern Europe did not want to answer to the pope. Pope Leo IX excommunicated the bishop of Constantinople when the bishop did not recognize the pope's authority. This caused a permanent split in the church, and it's the first split in our church. The split makes up two branches of Christianity at the time, one being the Eastern Orthodox Church and the other being the Roman Catholic Church. Roman being noting that the center of the church is in Rome, the main city of the world throughout much of history. Over on the right side of your screen, you see pictures of two figures in the Christian churches. One is Pope Francis. Hopefully, everybody recognized that. If not, please tell me that you didn't recognize, and have some. I will have some words with Father Dooley about you not recognizing who the Pope is. All right. Anyway, next up is the Bishop of Constantinople today, who is the Pope of the Eastern Orthodox Church. Kings and popes clash. Popes popes also argued with kings, particularly over the king's right to select bishops. Over to the right, I'll also speak to Father Dooley if you do not recognize this man. This is Bishop Thomas of the Diocese of Columbus. So that's who's pictured there. All right, continuing on with the reading. A dispute arose when Pope Gregory VII did not like a bishop that was chosen by Holy Roman Emperor Henry VII. Actually, it's Henry IV there. I can read. Henry IV tried to remove the Pope from office. The Pope excommunicated Henry IV. Henry IV had to beg for the Pope's forgiveness to remain in power. After their deaths, a compromise was ultimately struck. From then on, the Pope would select all religious officials, but the religious officials must obey the Emperor. And next is the questions. All right, there are 6 questions here, as well as a challenge activity. Both are due for your homework, as well as the other page that I am leaving with the sub. But you already have this page in front of you. So I do recommend that you spend the rest of your time today completing this work. And if you don't get it all done, do it for homework. I will be checking it on Friday for the 7th grade in the upstairs class. 7th grade in the downstairs class, I will have to check it on Monday, and I do realize that your schedule is all thrown out of whack due to my move. So, downstairs class, your test is going to be on Wednesday. Actually, no, your test is gonna be, yeah, on Wednesday. I'm right. All right. Adios, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you on Friday. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.